Hi everyone, going to run through the TUT questions for week 3 today. This is part 1. I'm definitely going to be doing part 2 because it's quite a meaty TUT. Let's jump straight into it. So we have a committee. A committee is to be formed from the history and geography departments at UCT. The 9 people on the committee can be selected from 15 eligible individuals. So we know committee. So a committee must have 9 people. So 9 people. There are 15 total, and there are 2 departments. 7 of these are from history, so 7 belong to history, and then 8, including the head of department of history, and 8 are in the geography department. So 8 are geography. Okay, awesome. Cool. Okay, so question A, 1A. With no regard to which departments the members come from, or restrictions on how many come from which department, how many different committees of size 9 could one construct out of the 15 eligible people? Okay, so essentially they're saying it doesn't matter where they come from, it doesn't matter who they are, they just want to know, out of these 15 people, how many committees of size 9 can be made out of 15 eligible people? Now, if you're still not too sure what the difference between permutation and combination are, very easy way to think about it. Permutation, picture. Order matters. If 2 people swap around in a picture, it's a different picture. So it's a permutation. Permutation, picture. A committee, on the other hand, it doesn't matter who sits where. Either way, it's still the exact same committee or team. So committee is combination. Committee combination. Doesn't matter. Order doesn't matter. Committee combination. So keep that in mind. So now we're looking at committee, so it's definitely going to be a combination. 15 possible people, 9 to be chosen. So we're going to have 15, choose 9. Pop that straight into our calculators. 15, choose 9. If you don't know how to use permutations and combinations on your calculator, Google it, try to find out how your calculator works. Saves you a lot of time. And there you go. That's how many committees can be formed. 9 people committees can be formed. 15, choose 9. 5,005. Awesome. B. How many ways could any particular committee line up for a photograph, i.e., how many different photos with different arrangements of members for a given committee? So now what they're saying is that you've got one committee, right? Doesn't matter which committee it is. How many different pictures can you make with that one committee, right? I wouldn't consider this a permutation or combination. The way I'd think about it is you've got 9 spots, right? There are 9 spots. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. You've got 9 seats, right? One person has to fill in the seat. So you've got 9 people as well. In seat 1, how many possible people can be there? 9, right? Okay, so out of the 9 people, 1 of them sits there. So you've got 1 person down. Now in the second seat, how many people can sit there? Comes 8, right? Because you've 1 person sitting over here. You've now got 8 possible options for next. Next becomes 7, then 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now what does this equal to? If we multiply these together, right? What does that equal to? That, in essence, is just 9 factorial. 9 times 8 times 7 times 6 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. That will give us the total number of pictures, right? Don't want to use combination, the word combination, but how many different pictures, how many different seating organizations can we have? Just equal to 9 factorial. So to find out, straight into the calculator, 9 factorial, 362,880. Nice and easy, not too bad. Question C. If it is required that all 7 potential history members have to be on the committee, how many different committees can be formed? Okay, so remember the history department is only 7 people, the geography department is 8. If all 7 members have to sit on that, we essentially have 7 and then just 2 seats left, right? And so what are we going to do to figure this out? If there are 8 people left and there are only 2 seats open, what's that going to be? Those are going to be 8, choose 2. Because remember, that's how many committees can be formed. There are 8 people, 2 seats left. The 7 seats all taken up by the history department, so it doesn't matter. We're just going to have 8 choose 6. So 8 choose 2. That's equal to 28. There you go. Awesome. D. For any particular committee formed in C, okay, so we're now looking at these 28 committees that we formed in C. For any particular committee formed in C above, how many different photos could we construct if the geography members insisted on sitting together? So remember, we've got 7 history and 2 geography, right? 2 geography members. Now, if these 2 people want to sit together, we can start by thinking of them as one person, right? So if we consider this to be one person, because they're always going to be together, then in essence we have 8 people. So remember, we do just like in question B, 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way to 8. Find out how many different ways we can do that. That ends up being 8 factorial, because there are 8 seats, right? 8 different ways to swap them around. We're considering this to be 8 people. But then we also need to remember that these 2 people can switch, and that is just equal to 2 factorial as well. So it's going to be equal to 8 factorial times 2 factorial. 2 factorial is also equal to 2, so if you said 8 factorial times 2, you'd be right. We end up with 80640, 80640. Nice and easy. Okay, I'm going to keep this to the side because I think we're going to need it for the next question. Question E. Okay, for any particular formed in C, we're jumping back to this 28 committee that we've looked at with 7 history members and 2 geography members. How many photos could we construct if the history members insisted on sitting in a single contiguous group? No geography members in between. Okay, so these history members now want to sit all together. So if we start off by thinking of these 7 people as one person now, essentially these 7 people now become one, and we have these other two geography members, right? When you find out how many different groups you can make, it becomes, because if we consider 3 people, right? 3 factorial times, remember that these 7 people can switch in between themselves, even though they still sit in a group. That then becomes just 7 factorial. So we have 3 factorial times 7 factorial, 3,240. 3,240, yeah. There you go, nice and easy. Okay, awesome. F. If the same restrictions as in E above apply, and the head of history insists on sitting in the middle of his history colleagues, how many photos could we construct? So now things are a bit different, right? So we've got this, essentially this this head of department who wants to sit in the middle, right? The head of department wants to sit in the middle of all his colleagues, right? How many photos can we construct? So we're looking at photos now, right? So we have, in essence, we're going to have still these 3 groups switching, right? Because remember, if all the history members stay together, we're going to have these 3 groups. So it's going to be 3 factorial and the 2 geography members. But now in those 7 people, right? If we think about it, with the head of department doesn't want to move at all, you can almost think of him as not being there, right? So essentially what we end up with is 6 factorial, so times 6 factorial. So because this person is always going to sit in the middle. He's always going to be in the middle. He's not going to move at all, really, except for, in his little group, but he'll always be in the middle. So it doesn't matter what happens to him, really. So we don't consider him a person, really, because he's got his one seat. His seat is always going to be his. So essentially we only have six history members that can switch around. That's why we have 6 factorial. So we have 3 factorial times 6 factorial, and that is equal to 4,320. 4,320. Okay, nice. Awesome. Okay. So now G, do we look at if the specific request of the head of department was ignored, what is the probability that a random configured photo with the restrictions of E, right, happens to end with the head of department sitting in the middle of the photo? Now this is where the thinking comes in. So if we think about E, what did we calculate in E? In E we figured out how many different possible photos were possible if the head of if the history members wanted to sit together, right? And we're going to assume that that's what happened. So the history members all sit together and they get switched around. How many different photos can we make? We found out that was equal to 30,240, right? So those are the total possible. And the next question, question F, excuse me, we figured out how many different pictures could be taken if the head of department always wanted to sit in the middle. So if we have the total number of combinations, not combinations like permutation combination, but if we have this many pictures, right, and we can have, these are the total number of pictures we can have, and we have this many pictures where the head of department sits in the middle, to find the probability that the head of department actually sits in the middle would just be that number over that number, because this is the total number of possible outcomes, and this is the number of outcomes where the head of department sits in the middle. And so that is how we find our probability. So our probability is just 4,320 over 30 over 240. Figuring out the number of pictures that the head of department sits in the middle over the total number of possible pictures gives us that probability. To simplify that, we can pop that straight into our calculator, divide by 30, 240, and that is equal to 0.143, or 14.3%. And there you go. That's the probability that the head of department wants to sit in the middle. Okay, awesome.